Well, I think we're in a very unpredictable situation right now. The president and the Iranians appear to be in a standoff around who can last longer under severe economic pressure. The president is determined to maintain the blockade on Iran, preventing them from exporting and earning revenues from their oil production, which is the primary source of support for the regime and for the country as a whole.
Right.
The Iranians are determined to maintain their chokehold on the Strait of Hormuz, which will have catastrophic implications over time, not just for oil prices, but for the larger global economy.
Suzanne, your heritage, I'm going to editorialize, is realist foreign policy of Robert Gates, of Zbigniew Brzezinski, and others. Do we have a theory right now of foreign policy? Are we realist? Are we something else I don't know? Or are we just making it up tweet by tweet?
Well, I think the America First ideology has morphed over time under President Trump's first and second terms. At this point, it is highly militaristic. It is very much, forced first as a means of asserting American interests around the world. And it is very disinterested in the traditional reliance on allies and partners that has been the key to the extension of American influence, as well as the broader prosperity and peace that we've had in the post-World War II era.
Suzanne, do we actually know who is running Iran right now? And whoever that is that a group that can really negotiate on behalf of the country?
I think we have a decent sense of the most important figures within the regime. They're largely drawn from the Revolutionary Guard, but of course, we believe that Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the late supreme leader who was killed on the first day of the war and then elevated to his father's position, is still alive and is still helping to shape decision making. This is very much a system now that is driven by hardliners who have been at the forefront of Iran's most damaging and violent policies over the course of the past 47 years. And they're not individuals who are particularly prone to compromise or to reconciliation with the United States or Israel.
So President Trump portrays the leadership in Iran as in flux, failing maybe. Is that accurate, do you think? Again, it just kind of goes to the question of, can the United States negotiate in good faith with whomever is there?
Look, Iran has always had a kind of diversity of factions within its system and really vociferous debates about both its foreign policy and its domestic policy. That isn't new. And it's not surprising that in the aftermath of the elimination of the senior echelons of the clergy, as well as the security bureaucracy, that we're seeing at least some questions about how decisions are being made and differing positions. I don't think that is fundamentally it makes it impossible for us to negotiate with Iran. It has always been complicated. It has always required a high degree of focus and patience from the international community to achieve any clear outcomes with Iran. I think the challenge that we face is not the internal politics, but the sense within the regime that they have the upper hand and that time is on their side.
Suzanne Maloney with us, folks, a definitive on this study of the Eastern Mediterranean and the Levant. She's with Brookings Institution and, of course, writing for foreign policy as well as foreign affairs, I should say, which I can't say enough about. Suzanne, long ago and far away, you were actually in Tehran. Did you ever take a bus, like the 4-hour bus south from Tehran to Isfahan? Did you do that as a kid?
I visited Isfahan several times when I was studying in Iran in the late 1990s. I actually flew. The flights were very inexpensive at that time and very convenient. Isfahan is a phenomenally beautiful historic city, but it is obviously proximate to some of the most important nuclear sites in the system.
What's the number one thing we get wrong in our perception of the road from Tehran to Isfahan?
I think the fundamental issue that we have is recognizing that this is a regime that has staked its existence on maintaining some kind of a nuclear infrastructure. They have fought for that. They have suffered enormous trillions of dollars of damage and sanctions and lost opportunities as a result of their determination to maintain that. The president walked away from the nuclear deal in 2018. There were lots of critics of that deal, but it is very hard to reconstitute any kind of an agreement given all that has happened in the interim. So this is a challenge. The U.S. wants a quick fix, a quick deal, a quick end to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians are going to try to continue to maintain their chokehold and assert this leverage even after this conflict ends.
Suzanne, what do we know about the people of Iran? What do they want? How supportive are they of this government? Because, boy, not just the sanctions, as you mentioned, but now the blockade, I'm sure, is wreaking tremendous hardship on the people of Iran. What do we know about them?
Well, the Iranian people have been the biggest losers in all of these conflicts between their regime and the international community. They have suffered immensely. And of course, we know that thousands went to the streets all around the country on multiple occasions, but most recently back in January, demanding regime change, a different government. They do not want the theocratic regime that imposes so many constraints on their interaction with the world, on their own opportunities. They were slaughtered in very large numbers. We've documented, credible organizations have documented 7,000 deaths. Is probably 2 or 3 times that number at least were killed by the regime in order to maintain its hold on power. And I think that gives you a sense of how determined they are.
Suzanne, in the time that we've got left, I got 8 ways to go here. Let me start with, how I learned about shuttle diplomacy. We all read Kissinger's Diplomacy cover to cover, and then he reinvented it by getting on airplanes. How do you perceive, as a diplomat and someone who believes in international relations, the idea that a real estate developer from New York and a family member get on a plane to go negotiate like this, or the vice president for that matter? Do we have a diplomatic industry now negotiating with Iran in this war?
Well, I believe that the team that was sent to Islamabad and was prepared to return did, in fact, include a number of technical experts who would be supporting the leads, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and Vice President Vance in the initial outcome. But truthfully, we are operating in very unprecedented times in terms of how we have tried to manage these negotiations. And I think we see the result of that.
My answer is, my deep read here, Paul, is a blockade is Russell Crowe on a boat in the Napoleonic Wars. It makes for a hell of a good movie if you read Patrick O'Brien. What does Suzanne Maloney think about the simple word blockade when we mention the Persian Gulf and around the south?
It will certainly hurt Iran's economy, but I think most experts on Iranian politics and on the regime believe that they're prepared to pay the price, and that they have, over the past 47 years, learned to adapt. Their entire economy is based on evading U.S. sanctions and mitigating the impact of American economic pressure. And they will look for workarounds, and they will probably succeed longer than we would like them to.
Given that backdrop, Suzanne, and given what we know now, 8 weeks into this, what is a reasonable solution here, and what is a reasonable time frame?
I think it's critical to reopen the Strait of Hormuz to something resembling pre-war traffic. It will take some time before we get there. And so the sooner we actually agree on some kind of reopening, the closer we are to addressing the really big tsunami of economic pain that is coming as a result of this closure.
Suzanne, let's end with this. Paul had the right question, it's like Butch Cassidy.
Who are these guys?
I know Suzanne Maloney saw Butch Cassidy. You're looking out and you're going, who are these guys? Your essay, the Third Islamic Republic. Are we speaking to the leaders of the Third Islamic Republic?
We are speaking to the leaders of the Third Islamic Republic. They're still trying to make up their minds, but I do think that the only way that we can come to an end here is through some kind of a diplomatic negotiation. And the more that we invest in serious diplomacy, the closer we'll be to a solution.